Well, hello everybody, this is Mario from the Watch Frame, finally being able to make the long-term review of this Rolex Explorer 124270 that I got in 2021. It's been a long time since I wanted to make this because I've been very busy with a lot of work lately, so sorry about that. But at the same time, this is a good thing because I have had more experience, more time experiencing the watch while the channel has been growing steadily, so thank you for that also. And this is not going to be a technical review. You already know about this watch, about the technical specifications of the watch. This is going to be more about the sensations, the experience, the personal opinion of this watch. So let's start with the first part. It is not new to say that I am not one of those people who can afford to spend what an Explorer costs. This watch does not fall into my price range, and I doubt that I will ever be able to buy anything even close to this price. When I started this new phase of watches collecting, a €500 watch, like the first one I bought, the Hamilton Khaki Field Automatic, seemed like overkill to me. The first few days with the Hami, I was freaking out knowing that I had such an expensive watch on. Eventually, I realized that that was practically the bare minimum, and from there the sky's the limit. I thought the only watch I would consider paying such a relatively high amount would be the Explorer, and not because it was a Rolex, but because I really liked the watch. Being a Rolex was a plus because of second market prices, of course, but well, you know what I mean. I liked the Explorer 1016 and I still do. Since a 1016 was unthinkable in terms of price and, okay, let's face it, as a practical everyday watch, the more modern versions were more logical and within reason, sensible choice for me. And I already said this in the 6 months review. It's amazing how easy it has been to get used to wear a 7000 watch in the street in any occasions, not always in safe places, mainly because how comfortable it really is that people don't notice it, and sometimes even I don't notice that I'm wearing it. It's so comfortable, which is not always a good thing, not to notice that you have the watch. So I usually have to move the hand to see that it's still there. So, yeah. I am well aware that I'm carrying something very valuable and difficult to replace. And it has its risk. And in my case, I bought it because I wanted to use it. It was part of my history and I prefer to take the risk that let time pass and not enjoy the watch. Therefore, I do not consider it that much of an expensive watch, but a valuable one for what it really represents. And being so discreet, I live with some peace of mind to have it on almost always. I don't think it would be the same with a more recognizable or delicate watch. I wore the watch on a short hike and fell with it while trying to keep my wife from sleeping. I was the one sleeping. The watch didn't break, but my elbow and forearm took the worst of the hit. But it was a little warning about what really happens with the Explorer. Now, okay, it is true that you can take it to the mountain, but being so expensive is not something that maybe you should do all the time. So for that reason, I am not taking it that much to this kind of adventures. Instead, I prefer to take the Trash Casameter with me, and I don't miss the spirit of the Explorer using the Trash Casameter, which is also a little bit, more scratch resistant and all those things. Something similar happens in the sea. It is true that you can swim with the Explorer. It's a watch that is equally at home on the mountaintop in the morning, snorkeling in the afternoon, and in a fancy restaurant at night. But it doesn't have to be that way to enjoy it. For swimming, I used to wear the Laurier Neptune, and now I do use the Squale Corso Italiano, actually the watch I'm wearing today. For diving, the Seiko SKX007, and I enjoy them immensely. It is not that I never wear the Explorer when swimming, I just don't wear it all the time, not every time. The Explorer is for me, actually today, for another type of exploration and adventure. I will comment on it later. From the day the new Explorer came out in 36mm, there was a significant mass of people saying they prefer the larger 39mm size and even asking for a 41mm. Logically, no size is going to please everyone. A 38mm may seem too big for some and too small for others. But there are people who directly state that the watch is too small, period. A watch is not too small or too big or thin or thick if there is no context to compare it to, an environment in which it moves and a function that defines it. And then you have to get into personal preferences, proportions, taste, and of course trends. No, 36mm is not too small, nor is 45 too big. These are not absolute answers, nor is there a single truth. Everyone can choose a watch size depending on many parameters, but it really seems that sometimes it seems that the new Explorer has hurt somebody who even go into the personal to disqualify people who buy or have it. I think that really shows the insecurities of those people and how they project their own frustrations. I repeat, I don't criticize that people prefer different sizes. I myself would have preferred this to be 37mm or 36.5 instead of the 35.4 that it is. And also with this 20mm lock would have been much better. But again, I think the Explorer 39 is a great watch, and I enjoy as much seeing a vintage Tudor in 34mm, the Ranger, or the Heritage Ranger in 41mm. I love those watches too. So it doesn't matter if you like 36, 38, 42, 45. This is a matter of personal preference most of the times, and of what we like. Every person is different, so we like different things. That's a great thing about this hobby. You don't have to disqualify other people for preferring a different watch size. And yes, 36mm is a good watch size, but if you prefer another size, it is perfectly legitimate. But whoever chooses a 34, 36 or 45 is no less man or woman, whatever those concepts of toxic masculinity seem to be for some. Well, enough of that. Let's move to another important issue. The scratches this watch will surely get. If you blink near the watch, the 904L alloy steel will get scratched. It is like this. At first I had a hard time reconciling myself to this fact. Now this watch already has a lot of little marks all over it. I used to think I should polish it soon, but now it's part of its character, and I'm not just saying that. It is the way it is, and now I understand better why so many people leave watches unpolished. It really makes each watch more of oneself, personal, intimate even. That doesn't happen to me with the Summiteer, for example, and I wonder if it won't be over the time a feature that may eventually drive me away from the watch. The small marks, scars of life, defines us, and is part of what we are, where we come from, what we have done. If there's one thing that doesn't change, is that everything changes. I am not saying that we have to actively damage the watches, but we have to not be that worried about making scratches of the watch. We have to be careful with them, like with any other thing, especially with these machines which are quite delicate sometimes. But as long as we are careful, we should enjoy them and not be overly worried about making a damage. So be careful, but use your watch. I have the Seiko SKX007, which loses around 12 seconds a day. The Trasca is ahead about 5 every day and so on. The Christopher Ward Trident T60 about 6 or 8 seconds a day and that's okay. I'm not worried. Damn, this Caravelle Sea Hunter is about 18 seconds a day fast, so I'm not worried. Oh, but when the Explorer started losing 2.5 seconds a day, worry. Let's see. It's normal. You spend a small fortune on a watch that should run between ±2, and if it starts to lag more than 2 seconds, you get worried. During the first months, it was -0.4 seconds slow constantly. Nothing major, but after a while it was -1 second, and then when I looked again, there were days where it was way over -2 seconds a day.
I know, this is a first world problem. I prefer watches to run a little bit faster and if possible to regulate them. And I don't care for less expensive watches, but when the watch is so expensive that it doesn't run like K1, kind of keeps me a little bit awake at night. Sorry, but yeah, that's the truth. So I prefer it to be running much better considering what you pay for the watch.
I took it to the authorized dealer and they checked it. Actually it was within specs, but they opened it and regulated a little bit more to my liking. That's one of the advantages of having the warranty that this watch has and the kindness of this specific dealer. Now it's half a second ahead of every day and I'm not worried anymore. Well, not that much at least. A watch of this caliber brings some worries that you don't have with other watches. This somewhat reduces the actual enjoyment of the watch when it doesn't perform exactly as expected. But on the other hand, I have found that it can be easily fixed. I have seen several Rolex movements, like the 3135 being serviced, and those movements are really good made. They are designed to be rugged, solid and reliable. And if something doesn't go quite as expected, yes, it can be fixed.
Conclusion after 1 year and 7 months with this watch. I think the Rolex Explorer is no longer the romantic exploring watch of the past. Don't get me wrong, it really can be. It can withstand anything. It can be used in the water, in the cold mountains, in the heated deserts. It will withstand anything.
But exploration is not only of places and landscapes, but of life itself, the everyday environment. How we grow up, get older, give away to the next generation that picks up the torch. For me, a watch, like the Explorer, is a companion of life in which we project memories of our experiences, our environment and our character. And this more so because of the quality it has, the robustness with which it's built to last for decades and decades to come. You know, I have been a mountaineer for many years, but I don't go to the mountains as much anymore. But nothing changes the fact that I've been going to the mountains for about 3 decades now, usually with my trusty Casio. A mountain is like life. There are dangers, satisfactions, shadows, light, heat, cold, laughter, and yes, tears. Every hike begins and every march ends. We are not only explorers when we climb a hill and discover a promising route, an interesting cliff, a doline, a peak, or a cave. We are explorers because for many, exploration is in our way of being. In all this exploration, be it of life or of remote places, it is important to first count on the most important thing. And it's not watches, it is our family and our friends and fellow people. Because to seek adventure is also to advance on our humanism and solidarity with others. On this path, both in life and in the mountains, the budget does not matter that much. But we can always count on tools like compasses, whether real or moral, intellectual references, knowledge of art, education, and yes, all those wonderful devices, prodigies of engineering and human ingenuity that are the watches that exemplify those values, virtues, and sometimes also defects. Be it a humble but trustworthy Casio, the Trustcastle Meteor, or this Explorer.
But please, let prestige and price don't distract us from the very important thing. We have to be a little bit like these watches. They are reliable, humble, they do what they have to do in the right moment. So I know that this is a very expensive watch. Things are like they are. But this exploring watch and others similar with different price ranges, they carry the same spirit of being humble, useful, and that allows us to kind of reflect ourselves in those watches, to be useful for other people, to advance in our humanism. So I think that's one of the lessons of this Explorer and similar watches. They can carry the adventure of your life with you, be part of what you should be as a person, around a well-rounded person, and that's an amazing thing. So all I have left to say is to thank you for listening this long review. Thanks for your patience and everything. Please comment what you think about this type of watches and what they represent to you. And I really hope to see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Bye bye.